The Comedian, Part 8, a short story. Another comic filled in for Mason, and he and Junior walked to a small pub off the main drag and far enough away from comedy club foot traffic. A couple of off-duty soldiers were nearing the end of a game of billiards in the corner of the pub. After finishing his shot, one of them threw out his empties and proceeded to the bar to settle his tab. The only other customer was an old man, seated comfortably at the head of the bar by the open entrance. The kind of character who is known to the locals only, derives pleasure from being acknowledged by them, and emanates an air of influence when visitors recognize it. It was clear to Mason that he wasn't leaving any time soon, but as long as he didn't start chatting him up, this was as good a place as any to drink his troubles away. The bartender emerged from the back room carrying a new keg. She was fair in complexion, covered in tattoos, and her head was garnished with a Jack Sparrow cosplay wig. She was clad in a pair of black combat boots, denim cutoffs, and a tight tank top, and had piercings in her ears and eyebrows. She placed the keg on the floor and turned to greet the pair, and Mason noticed she also had piercings in her nipples. This would excite him any other time, but his mind was still on Erica. "Hey guys, grab a seat anywhere. I'll be right with you after I close out these 2 tabs." The bartender walked to the end of the bar, closed out the soldiers' tabs, then quickly replaced the keg. "Sorry about that, guys. Our other bartender is filling in for our cook, so it's just me up here tonight." Mason answered her. "No rush. Do you expect it to get busy?" She placed a cocktail napkin in front of each of them, checked the time, and considered the question. "We may get a couple more stragglers like you two, but if you're looking for a hopping joint, this is not going to be the place for you." "Just the opposite, actually. We may be staying for a while," Mason replied. "Fantastic. What can I get you guys?" Mason and Junior opened a tab and waited for their drink order. The bartender returned, placed their drinks down in front of them, and added, "My name is Pearl. Let me know when you're ready for another. And if you're looking for something to eat, cow's better on the fryer than the grill, just a heads up." Pearl turned to face the old man. "You ready for another Barbosa?" The old man laughed and replied, "Aye!" Mason was perplexed about the pirate gimmick, but not enough to ask her about it. Instead, he just picked up his drink and proceeded to a nearby dartboard with Junior close behind. Mason and Junior killed a couple of hours at the pub drinking and playing darts and billiards. Barbosa left soon after they arrived, which left Pearl and Junior with more time to get acquainted. Mason was both pleased by the quiet time and annoyed by Junior's obvious disinterest in the billiard game that Mason was winning. It was a conundrum. Mason interjected, "Junior, I'm going to the bathroom." Junior, with Pearl on his lap and her tongue down his throat, didn't seem to hear him. Mason shook his head, waved dismissively, and walked away mumbling, "Try not to miss me too much while I'm gone, Junior." Mason spent his time at the urinal, reading scribble on the wall. Most of it uninteresting until his eyes fell upon one entry written in red Sharpie. "Pearl will show you her tits for $25 cash." I wonder if Pearl wrote that, Mason questioned out loud. When he emerged from the bathroom, he glanced over at the billiard table, hoping to find Junior there, and didn't. He turned his attention toward the bar where the pair had been sitting, and there was Pearl with her boobs out and in Junior's face. Junior cupped them both and started to lean in to suck, and Mason interrupted by clearing his throat. "Junior, I'm still here, you know." Both Pearl and Junior turned to look in his direction, unconcerned. Then Junior continued to make his move. Pearl moaned a little, and Mason decided that he had had enough. "I'm calling a lift, Junior." Junior waved him off without averting his attention from Pearl, and Mason stepped outside to summon a lift. Mason found a bar close by that wasn't crowded and ducked in for another drink while waiting for the lift, which was about 15 minutes away. After finishing his drink, he saw he had time for another and asked the bartender for a refill. He went to the bathroom one more time and returned to find the drink waiting for him. He downed it quickly and left enough cash on the bar to cover both drinks and a tip. "Keep the change," Mason said as he walked outside. He could hear the bartender's voice trailing off as he exited. "Hey, thanks, man." The lift was about 3 minutes away. Mason detected the smell of a cigarette burning nearby and suddenly wanted a taste. He looked around the corner and saw an older man flicking ashes onto the ground. "Excuse me, sir, do you have an extra cigarette?" Mason asked. The older man barked back, There are no extra cigarettes, boy. Well, I gave it a shot, Mason thought. The lift was approaching anyway, so he didn't really have time to smoke a whole one. Didn't want to smoke after him, and didn't feel like getting in an argument over the boy remark. He saw a gray sedan turn the corner and engage the hazard lights, so he walked closer to the curb and put his arm up to get the driver's attention. The car slowly pulled to the curb with its rear passenger door facing Mason. He got into the back seat and reached around for his seat belt. A familiar voice caught his attention. Mason? Mason the comic? He turned to look at the driver for the first time. Cat? Honestly, I didn't even look at the photo or the name of the driver when I ordered the lift. She laughed, and I saw the name Mason and thought it was just a coincidence. You should be at the comedy club right now. What happened? Oh, well, that's a long story, he answered her in a melancholy tone. You're actually my last ride. My kid is at a sleepover, so I've got nowhere to be if you need an ear. Maybe he was just hypnotized by her twang and thick red hair, but she was so warm and easy to talk to that he found himself telling her the whole story on the ride back to Junior's. I don't live too far from Junior if you'd rather go back to my place instead, she offered. Then, suddenly realizing how it may have sounded, quickly added, just to... Mason interrupted her. I'd love to, Kat. Kat edited the drop-off location to her house and proceeded to take the familiar path home. They pulled onto the dirt driveway leading up to her home. My place is about 2/10 of a mile down this dirt road. I only say that because I don't want you to think I'm going deliverance on you. Mason chuckled. I bet it's pretty in the daylight with all of these trees around. It is, and the path is kind of windy, with that strip of grass down the middle, and sunset is the prettiest time, and it's far enough off the road to be quiet, which I also like. She parked in front of a double-wide mobile home. Well, this is it, she said. I'm sorry it isn't the Ritz-Carlton or anything. Mason laughed again. He liked her sense of humor and humility. Please, my grandmother lived in a single-wide mobile home, and it was one of my favorite places to visit as a child, so think nothing of it. She ended the lift ride, gathered her things from the car, and invited him inside.